Well, it's me again, David Earl Moravy, on a summer morning saying hello. My musing for today is when you travel somewhere, remember that things may not always go the way you want, but while you're there, make the best of it anyway, because what's the purpose of traveling? Unless you have business, it's for pleasure. So, vacation travel, it's vacation. It means you're taking a break from your normal routine in life to experience something else, to broaden your personal experiences and broaden your knowledge of the world and people around you. That's the purpose of a vacation. And sometimes it's just to relax in a totally different environment. But the point is, you're supposed to do something different from your normal routine. That is the purpose of vacations. So my musing for today is, well, I have planned a vacation to encompass my birthday, and part of the vacation was in Washington, D.C. I've already did one video on that. So this is the second video, which I'm doing about D.C. I only had 2 days there. Not a lot of time, I know, but I wanted to experience something. And I do believe, in my opinion, every single American, if you can, go to the nation's capital at least once to look at some of the monuments, if not all. Go to museums, if not all. Maybe get a pass to visit the Capitol or the White House if it's available. I did have a pass for the Capitol, but I didn't have time to use it, and so my vacation was not perfect. There's many things that happened that I did not expect, did not want. So I only got to do some of the things I had on my bucket list, but I am not unhappy about that. I just want to point out that vacations can also have surprises, and you just have to go with the flow, make the best of it. That's my musing for today. So here is my second video on my vacation in Washington, D.C. Hope you enjoyed.
There's nothing like seeing Washington, D.C.'s National Mall from the air. Every year, this one national park draws roughly 25 million visitors, more than 3 times as many as Yellowstone and Yosemite combined. It's home to 3 of D.C.'s most visited sites: the National Museum of Natural History, with its great halls for mammals, fossils, and creatures of the sea; the National Air and Space Museum, where visitors come to learn about everything from the Wright brothers to moon dust to the latest high-tech drones; and the National Museum of American History. Once cows grazed on the land where these museums now stand, and it was home to a giant, noisy railway depot that stood here, on the site that's now the West Wing of the National Gallery of Art. It wasn't until the early 20th century that the land in front of the U.S. Capitol was cleared, and the National Mall, as we know it today, was born. The mall begins here, at the U.S. Capitol Reflecting Pool, and runs right up to the Washington Monument. But many of D.C.'s most moving sights lie past the monument to the west. There's the Korean War Veterans Memorial, where steel figures move through fields on patrol to honor the roughly 1.5 million American servicemen and women who served in that war. Nearby lies the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, designed by 21-year-old architecture student Maya Lin. Its black granite slabs are carved with the names of more than 58,000 soldiers who died in the Vietnam War. It's one of Washington, D.C.'s most visited sites, and is the only memorial where visitors can leave objects of remembrance. One group of veterans left a Harley-Davidson motorcycle here to honor their fallen brothers. On its license plate was one word: hero. Nestled in the middle is the National World War II Memorial, which is marked by a pair of victory pavilions. They are dedicated to those who fought to win the war's Pacific and Atlantic campaigns. It was planned to preserve the view down the mall, and then all the way across the reflecting pool of the majestic Lincoln Memorial. Designed in the style of a Greek temple, it has 36 Doric columns to symbolize the 36 U.S. states that existed at the time of Lincoln's assassination in 1865. A memorial to honor Lincoln was proposed shortly after his death, but it took 55 years to fund and complete. His famous Gettysburg Address is etched on its walls. But the biggest draw is what lies inside. A towering marble statue of Lincoln himself, in a pensive pose, gazing out across the memorial's long reflecting pool, towards the Capitol and across a city that has changed dramatically since it was founded more than 2 centuries ago.
In DC, we got around by using taxi, Uber, and tour buses. And we got to see many things, including the U.S. Capitol. This is where the legislative branch of the United States government gets together and it does its duties of creating laws and helping our country get along. It was a great day. It was a cloudy day and a little bit humid, but a nice visit all together in D.C. And due to heightened security, this was as close as Patricia and I could get to the White House. There were barricades and a lot of people there, but that is the official home of the President of the United States. One of my lifelong dreams was to visit the Lincoln Memorial, and I was going to see it for sure.
So, I'm sweaty going up those stairs, but I'm here at Lincoln Memorial. Humid day in Washington, D.C. But just look, this statue of a great man, this statue of a great president, this is a real Republican that I respect. This is Abraham Lincoln's statue. And this is his monument. And I invite all of you to come to Washington, D.C. also to experience the monument.
Patricia and I love to take photographs, more than videos, so you'll see a lot more photographs, but we took some videos. I just enjoyed being there with the monument of Lincoln. It was just a great experience. And outside of the monument, down the steps, and they're very tall steps, is the National Mall with the reflection pool with the Washington Monument in the distance. And those are the steps behind Patricia going up to Lincoln Memorial. And again, us with the reflection pool in the background and the Washington Monument. It's a great day.
Hello, we are in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, and we are on this wonderful tour of the Martin Luther King Jr. Monument. And look behind there, you see back behind? That's also the Washington Monument. How beautiful it is. Follow me, follow me. There's a lot of people here because a lot of people want to come visit. This is very important. Out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. And that is MLK Jr. Come on, follow me. We'll go this way. Yeah, over there. That's the Potomac River. That's the Potomac River here. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think that might be Lincoln Memorial.
Yes, it looks to be.
And over here, you see behind me is wonderful Martin Luther King Jr. There he is. Wonderful, right? Wonderful. Come to DC, you can see it too.
DC represents all of us, our history, our dreams, our accomplishments,
and we all should work together. It's always better if we do. And I wish we had more time in DC. We didn't. We did what we could, though, in 2 days. This museum right here behind us is the Archives of the USA. It was a place we could not go into. We didn't have enough time. But there they have lots of neat things. I recommend you go online and research information about the Archives of the USA. Fortunately, though, we could go into the Museum of Natural History, run by the Smithsonian, and got a chance to walk through and see some of the displays. Had ourselves on the outside, taking pictures, videos. Let me show you a little bit. Thankfully, we survived the Natural History Museum, but now we had a little time to go see the Washington Monument one more time, and then head to our next destination.
Here's to anyone who's ever looked up. The airheads. And the space cases.
Live long and prosper.
The flight fanatics. The armchair astronauts. And the casually curious. Here's to those who know the thrust in newtons of a Pratt & Whitney J75 turbojet engine, and those who silently ask, what's keeping this thing in the air? Here's to those who can list the name, mission history, and favorite breakfast of every Mercury astronaut, and those who've ever searched for, how does a toilet work in space? Here's to the people who knew a P-38 Lightning from a P-51 Mustang, and the people who thought those were the names of cars. Those captivated by the miracle of flight, and those who are just happy to make their flight. So whatever captures your curiosity,
we choose to go to the moon,
or propels you to new heights. When it comes to the sky, there's space for all of us.
That's right. The last thing I wanted to do on my bucket list in DC was to visit the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, which has been recently reimagined. And this is what we experienced. So we're actually here in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. This is a little interactive globe of many different things, showing patterns of bird flights and patterns of satellites around our globe. It's a very interesting display. among many interesting displays right here at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Really, when you get a chance, come to D.C. and enjoy the space.
And so we ended our brief stay in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. No doubt it was great. Did you enjoy the vacation I had in D.C.? It's just a sample, and trust me, there's more to do there. My overall opinion of D.C. is the whole town. It's very government. I mean, it really is. Not just monuments, but the style of the buildings. Not a lot of flair, honestly. I was expecting more, something different. But it was fine, and I'm sure people who live there get used to everything. I like more the variety out here in California, honestly. But it was good to visit, and I'm glad I did. Thank you for watching my video, and please tell your friends, neighbors, other people in the grocery store to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe and like, because if you do, it allows me to do more. I appreciate it. Y'all take care of yourselves now.